So quickly I had to learn how to work with people because I didn't know a lot about managing cash, I didn't know a lot about managing bank relationships, and start working with people and utilize those people efficiently and effectively to make the right decisions. And the only reason I could do that is because I learned how to manage people. I made the calls where I was going to give those people credit, I was going to listen to them, and when I didn't know what they were talking about, to do the additional research and stay up there late at night to figure out what I was doing. So I did that for about 2 years, and then we decided to start a business, our advanced fuels technology. So when you guys talk about that $6.8 million worth of revenue, you know how much I'm contributing to that right now? 0. So hopefully we'll get some money in there where we can do that. But the reason why I've been given those opportunities is by working hard, by relying on the people that because I cannot do it all on my own. You have to have people that you manage, you have to have them help you out. So some kind of career advice I'd like to give is early in your career, be ready to take a difficult job, the job that nobody wants. Do a good job at it, turn it around, because you will be rewarded and recognized for it. Also, continually try to go for stretch goals, stretch jobs. Go into areas you're not familiar with. If you want to be an accountant, like you said, in your entire life, go up those paths. But if you want to become an executive, go to jobs that are completely put you out of your comfort zone. Go in there, figure out those jobs, learn how to work on those jobs. Also, in your first part of your career, some of the things I see people making mistakes of, understand what you're supposed to do. Do not take a task unless you understand and know what you're supposed to do, because 1, you're going to deliver the wrong result, and 2, you're not really going to get the job done. Also, understand with people what type of detail they want, what level of accuracy they want. I remember one night I needed some analysis run, and I told one of my analysts, I said, hey, could you do this real quick? You know, I said, could you run this analysis for me? I didn't say real quick, which that was my fault. So I said, sure. So the next day I get to work. He comes in about an hour later. This looks horrible. And he hands me the analysis, and it's the best thing I've ever seen. Went down to decimal .00008. And I said, oh, actually kind of needed about 10,000, 100,000 number. I didn't need it down to that decimal point. Make sure you understand the level of detail people want there. If they want some type of just a high-level estimate, or if they want something accurate, and then communicate to them how long you think it's going to take. Communicate if you have other jobs so they know what you're working on and what type of priority you need to give to this job. And then finally, seek constructive feedback. It's always great to hear how good you're doing, but in order to grow, you need to learn what you're not doing good. And you also need to understand what is it going to take me to get to that next level. What do I need to do in order to get to that next level? Now, a lot of times early in your career, it's going to be very difficult when you guys give feedback that people are only going to give you and tell you how great you're doing, or they might forget to give you an evaluation. It doesn't have to be formal. You guys need to make sure you're sitting down and talking to people. Also talk to people, maybe even your peers, and ask them to talk to your boss's boss to get the feedback. And you need to understand when people are giving you the feedback, they're doing that to benefit you. The worst thing you guys can potentially do is not get that feedback. Now, when you start managing people, one of the main things to do, and these two gentlemen will tell you very much, build the right team. Spend the time up front to get the right team for the job. It takes additional time. You want to hurry up when you're given a job or an assignment or a task. You want to hurry up and get your hands dirty. Spend the upfront time to build the right team. It'll save you in the long run. Finally, communication. What I told you guys about when I first started managing people, horrible communication. I was great communicating up, but it's tough. Yeah, people work better, and I communicate up. I never communicated down. And when you're managing, listen to your people. They're down doing the work. They're going to know what's going right, what's not going, what's going wrong. So make sure you listen to them. And again, at that point in time, seek upward feedback, but also provide the downward feedback to the people. It is your responsibility, once you're a manager, to provide that feedback to people. The most important thing, or the worst thing you can do, to someone is not give that feedback. One of our board members recently told me that, had an employee that he didn't get the feedback to early on in his career. He ended up going up, making treasurer. He ended up making CFO. And he didn't have some of the right skills. And he ended up becoming accustomed to a high lifestyle. He lost his job. And he couldn't get another job at that CFO level. He ended up having to take personal bankruptcy. If he would have received some negative feedback early on in his career and taken it, he could have probably turned that around a little bit earlier. But once you reach a certain level, it's hard to do. And then finally, just some general overall career advice. Do not be afraid to fail. If you guys want to reach the high level, you have to go beyond what everybody else is doing. And you are going to fail. But you have to learn from your failures. Communication. This is very important. It's not always easy, but you have to communicate mistakes and bad news early. You cannot keep that into yourself. If you look at some of the examples and stuff we've had recently with investors and some of the blow-ups we've had, people were doing stuff with derivatives. They were trying to hide those and eventually caught up to them. They probably could have got out when it was smaller. These things keep compounding on themselves. They can end up bankrupting companies. So make sure when there's bad news, when there's mistakes, you communicate those early, communicate those often. And then finally, when you guys have stuff, you guys are going to encounter problems along the way. Things are not going to work. Instead of being the person that goes and says, hey boss, this doesn't work, I'm heading home for the night. Instead of trying doing that, try to come in there and bring solutions to the table. Those are going to be the people that you want on your team. Those are the people that are going to eventually come into going to management. And then finally, like they say throughout your career, you got to continue to learn. You got to continue to seek feedback. I work for our CFO quite a bit, our corporate CFO, and we just recently have a new CEO. He called me in his office the other day and said, hey, you got 10 minutes? I said, sure. He said, would you mind if you give me some feedback? How am I doing? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? The CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He's been a CEO of another Fortune 500 company, and he was asking for his feedback. So you guys are going to need to get feedback often, and you also need to seek it out. So I think with that, I also have an Indonesia base case model review if you guys want to look at that. I don't think you want to. So I think we'll open up to a Q&A then, or?